Almost 40 years and this universe is still alive and kicking. It's in the hands of J.J. Abrams and EA Games now, so let's hope Stepmommy and Stepdaddy are kind to our beloved franchise we call Star Wars. Of course we won't be talking about the films, so get the hell out of here, JJ! No, we're talking about video games, the most immersive, most interactive form of entertainment our technology has to offer. Since 1977, we've watched massive armies clash on the field of battle with futuristic weaponry, sometimes in space fighters, sometimes on snow speeders, and sometimes on speeder bikes that surely you would only ride if you wondered what death felt like. Nobody knows for sure why people often ride these things at top speeds in dense forests. Perhaps an open tundra or vast desert would be more fitting. But fuck it, slap me with that $5,000 per month life insurance policy and let me test my reflexes. The point I'm meandering towards is that the Battlefront series, first debuted in September of 2004, uniquely allowed us to experience firsthand the trials and tribulations of a foot soldier on the ground during these infamous epic sci-fi battles. But why did it resonate so much with the Star Wars and gaming community? Sure, the gameplay is fun and the battles are cool, but there's a little something that any Star Wars installment needs to be truly accepted. Something the most recent film installments lacked. So let's dig around in our woefully unorganized pantry and pull out the secret spice that Battlefront brought with it. An elusive idea, perhaps found behind the basil, and certainly found within the story. You never knew. Looking back at previous Star Wars games, none have been able to match the scale that the Battlefront series portrays. Running into battle amongst hundreds of fellow clones and popping as many Rogering asshats as you can just has a certain ring to it. But that's not all. You can run into battle amongst hundreds of your fellow Empire droids and kill as many silly old Republic clones as you can. There are other Star Wars titles that at first glance seem comparable to this. For instance, in Rogue Leader, you get to fight in the Battle of Endor, maneuvering through an unspeakably massive cloud of TIE fighters and doing your part while Lando Calrissian incessantly yells at you that we need to buy more time. But is it really the same? It's awesome, yes, but something kept this title from selling anywhere near as many copies as Battlefront. Rogue Leader clocks in at nearly 1 million copies sold, whereas Battlefront 1 boasts 4 times that many. And that's not even including Battlefront 2, which blew its already impressive predecessor out of the water in terms of sales. To explain this discrepancy, one could of course look at gameplay, but Rogue Leader actually beats Battlefront in terms of reviews more often than not. Sure, good ol' RL didn't have a multiplayer, unlike Battlefront, but its well-received sequel, Rebel Strike, did, and still the sales are not even comparable to BF. There are some lurking variables, however. Namely that the PS2 vastly outsold the GameCube and that Battlefront had an online multiplayer. But that doesn't explain the entire discrepancy. Let's look at what made Star Wars so beloved in the first place, and then see how Battlefront expanded upon that in a way that previous Star Wars games did not. The year was 1977. Jimmy Carter was president, stagflation was wreaking havoc on the American middle class, and disco was beginning its slow descent into oblivion. At this point in time, science fiction had often touched upon what the future might look like. Bustling metropolises, sleek technology, and always a sense that things were better. Or maybe things had just gone to absolute shit. Either way, our musings about the future swayed heavily in one direction or the other. And yes, I know Star Wars technically took place a long time ago. But come on, this is basically the future for all intents and purposes. What truly separated Star Wars from the sci-fi films that came before it was that it was gritty and complex. It was epic in both how the story was told and because of the sheer scale of the universe itself. It managed to incorporate futuristic futuristic technology without making it cheesy. The lightsaber and other such devices just fit into the universe, and their awesomeness spoke for itself. The tale of Star Wars is as if humanity really had expanded to a galactic interspecies civilization where technology is far superior to what we have today. There's poverty, war, friendship, and love, all in a mixed bag that perfectly encapsulates the human condition. It was this undertone of grittiness that made these epic stories that much more relatable. Hell, the main character, Luke Skywalker, is just a young man born into poverty whose parents get killed. He's not some dude with robot maids taking care of his every need in a super awesome future house. He's just a guy in a small hut in the middle of the damn desert. This is real, man. And that brings us back to Battlefront. Somehow this series expands upon the complex universe that George Lucas laid out for us so many decades ago. The most obvious way this is done is through the now infamous battles I mentioned earlier. Being a single soldier in the middle of two massive armies clashing is crazy, man. The scale of these battles really hits home. The sheer amount of death happening around you when you're no more powerful than the enemy you're fighting really removes the rose-tinted glasses we're used to looking through. Until Battlefront, we're only shown things from the perspective of the heroes, save for a few games, but even when you aren't protected by the hull of a vehicle, mowing down countless enemies really ain't that hard in these titles. You're still a hero in the sense that you're harder to kill than the average soldier. Whether it's Knights of the Old Republic or the original Star Wars movie, we aren't one of the little guys fighting a war that's beyond our control. We're a person with special abilities, with a destiny. Battlefront changes that. Recall the gritty complexity I mentioned earlier and how it helped propel Star Wars to the top of science fiction fandom. This idea of portraying the future as how it could truly be gets a happy add-on thanks to Battlefront. No longer is the Star Wars universe limited to the rare perspectives of the elite. Now this incredible franchise is expanded to how these epic wars appear to the average soldier in detail never before seen. And it turns out this new perspective yields a super awesome gameplay style that makes gamers giddy. Which brings me to my next point. You might be thinking that I've unfairly pushed aside the gameplay of Battlefront while figuring out what made it so popular. And you'd be right. Until now, you overly critical internet person. Clearly, the hours upon hours of addictive gameplay contributed to lining LucasArts' pockets with $100 bills. So it's time to look at that aspect of this series. Just as the original Star Wars set itself apart from other films within the sci-fi genre, so too did Battlefront separate itself from other games within the kill as many things as possible genre. Indeed, Battlefront flew off the shelves for being legitimately fun, and not merely for having the Star Wars name slapped onto it. If that were the case, then Star Wars Super Bombad Racing would have been a real moneymaker. Dear God, make it stop! I'm so relieved it's gone. Now what Battlefront actually did to break new ground in gameplay design is obscured only by the fact that you've probably never thought about it. So allow me to do your thinking for you. Pre-2004, there was no shortage of games that you won by killing more people than the other team, but none truly matched the length and pace of Battlefront. By length, I mean that these matches can take a while. Hundreds of soldiers have to die before either team can consider themselves a winner. These matches have a sense of commitment and a true feeling of reward when you're finally victorious, or a sinking feeling that you just wasted 20 minutes if you're not. And to keep you engaged during these epically long battles, the pace is accelerated well beyond most multiplayer shooters at the time. Think about it. In Counter-Strike 1.6, you died and had to sit around until the round was over. In Team Fortress Classic, there was a respawn time. With Battlefront, you're right back at it with every death. All you need do is make the short walk back to the action. Sure, you could wait around between deaths, carefully choosing what class to use next, but the longer you do that, the sooner those shitty NPCs are gonna use up all your lives. Indeed, in this revolutionary Star Wars series, death is quite meaningless. Merely 1/200th of a loss, and with no timeout penalty attached to it. The awesome part about Battlefront is that the gameplay wants you to run in guns a-blazing, take taking out as many enemies as humanly or droidly possible as quickly as possible. Now before you crucify me, games like Quake 3 Arena, released well before 2004, perhaps even surpass Battlefront in terms of length and pace of matches depending on your game preference. The point I'm making is that BF was the first game to really nail the multiplayer experience with not only its length and pace, but also with the epic scale we discussed that Star Wars has mastered since day one. Back to the matter at hand, super conservative play just doesn't cut it with this game. Your kill-death ratio might be out of this world, but if you take too long to get kills, your potentially mediocre allies will kindly make up for all the deaths you didn't have. If you really want to maximize your chances of victory, you've gotta run in, strafe around, pew pew some dudes, and fear no death. Like, don't be stupid about it, but you get the idea. Because when you do die, there's plenty more lives where that came from. And you don't gotta wait around for a damn thing. Just run back in, baby. And wouldn't you know it, this gameplay centered around the idea of dying fast and killing faster ties in perfectly with you playing as an expendable foot soldier. Star Wars is well known for giving its audience a heaping dose of gritty realism. And what's more real than the expendability of infantry in times of war? Some might point out that the Empire, more accurately called the Separatists in this context, largely uses droids to fight their battles, while the Republic often uses clones. Well, first of all, if you can't even get enough actual people to rally around your cause, then maybe you're a bunch of huge assholes with a cause that sucks. And what's more real than a bunch of huge assholes ruling over everything for their own self-interest? As for the Republic, whether a person comes from a womb or a test tube, it's still a person with feelings. Sending them to certain death is hardly more moral than sending a non-cloned human to the same fate. The clone-producing facilities also brainwash their products into being absolutely subservient to the Republic in their fight against the Separatists. Jango Fett being known to say, "They grow up loyal to the Republic, or they don't grow up at all." Wait! I thought the Republic are supposed to be the good guys. This is too real, man. Behind the awe-inspiring clash of armies that sold millions of copies, there is a much darker concept. Highlighted by both the perspective you play from and by the gameplay design, Battlefront is a testament to the expendability of human life in times of war. Whether it's normal people, clones, or an army of robots created to slaughter said clones, millions will die in the quest for power by a privileged few. Perhaps there are extreme situations where war is justified, but one has to ask how hard the Empire and the Republic really tried to come to a diplomatic solution. That being said, Battlefront is awesome and is also a testament to how revolutionary game design can work its wonders. It's easy to be engrossed for hours in these games that push the limits of how massive battles can be. But let's not forget that these limits aren't always pushed a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And that's the story you never knew. Did you enjoy this video? Well, here's another one for you to try. Or if that's not quite your speed, we have a bunch more on our channel. If you enjoy the videos, you should subscribe. Also, if you like hearing funny stuff, we have a Twitter where we tweet things, including but not limited to our thoughts on cheese. Now it's time to hop on our speeder bikes and make another video. Bye-bye now.